The bombshell, none of the ransom notes are real, then the FBI walked it back. June 30, 2026. A single sentence changes everything. It started with a single sentence from an unnamed FBI official. None of the ransom notes are believed to be genuine. The Reuters report hit the internet like a bomb. 5 months of speculation. 5 months of analyzing every word in those cryptic messages. 5 months of believing that the kidnappers were out there taunting the Guthrie family, all of it, apparently a lie. The story spread like wildfire. True crime channels scrambled to react. The Guthrie family, still grieving, still hoping, was left reeling. But here's the thing about bombshells. Sometimes they're premature. Less than 24 hours later, the FBI Phoenix field office issued a stunning clarification that turned the narrative completely upside down. The FBI and its task force partners have received several ransom notes over the course of this investigation, the official statement read. Some have been deemed to be extortion attempts without legitimacy. Other ransom demands may potentially be legitimate and are still being investigated as such. Let that sink in. The FBI publicly corrected itself. They didn't just clarify, they completely walked back the implication that everything was fake. Some notes are fake, others might be real. They don't know which yet. For true crime followers, this was a feeding frenzy. How does the FBI not know? Why would an anonymous official say all notes were fake if that wasn't confirmed? Was there an internal war at the Bureau over this case? Law enforcement sources told the New York Post that the Reuters story cited an unfinished internal document and that the legitimacy of some messages is still being investigated. Translation: someone at the FBI spoke too soon. What we do know: the notes that gained attention had details that caught investigators' attention. Some included specific information about what Nancy was wearing. Others described her home in ways that suggested the writer had been there. One note included the claim that Nancy had been buried with nature after her death. A broken security light on Guthrie's house. The Apple Watch she had been wearing. These weren't public details. Whoever wrote at least some of these notes knew things a stranger shouldn't know. So which notes were real, which were fake, and who, if anyone, is still holding the truth about Nancy Guthrie? The FBI isn't saying. The grifter Derek Calella, the man who took advantage of a family's grief. February 4, 2026. A predator sees an opportunity. Just days after Nancy Guthrie vanished, a 42-year-old man from Hawthorne, California, sat in front of his television. He was watching coverage of a family in agony. Savannah Guthrie had just released an emotional video plea. "We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us." She made it clear, "We will pay." Derek Calella saw something else. He saw an opportunity. Using information he found online, Calella obtained the phone numbers of Nancy's daughter, Annie Guthrie, and her son-in-law, Tommaso Choni. Then he sent a text. "Did you get the Bitcoin? We're waiting on our end for the transaction." The question was carefully crafted. It suggested he was part of the kidnapping operation. It referenced the Bitcoin ransom demand that had already been reported in the media. It was designed to make a desperate family believe that the kidnappers were reaching out. A few minutes later, Calella placed a 9-second call to a family member. The brief duration suggests he was testing the number, seeing if someone would pick up. He wasn't a kidnapper. He wasn't part of any grand conspiracy. He was, in the words of federal prosecutors, a grief profiteer who saw a tragedy and decided to make it worse. Calella later admitted to investigators that he sent the messages to see if the family would respond. He wanted information about the investigation, inside details he could perhaps sell or use to further exploit the family's desperation. The text messages are unrelated to the ransom demand received by Tucson's KOLD news station. Calella was a copycat, piggybacking on the real mystery with his own cruel game. On February 5, 2026, Calella was arrested. For 5 months, he sat in legal limbo. The guilty plea: 5 years probation, but no answers about Nancy. July 2, 2026, a federal courtroom in Tucson. Derek Calella stood before a federal judge and pleaded guilty to 2 counts of harassment using a telecommunication device. The charges carried a maximum sentence of 2 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. But prosecutors reached a plea deal. Kalela would serve 5 years probation instead. The U.S. Attorney's Office statement was blunt. The Department of Justice will protect victims and families at all costs, and grief profiteers will be held accountable. In his plea, Kalela admitted he called and sent text messages to the Guthrie family on February 4th. He knew an earlier ransom demand had been made. His actions were meant to harass the family by seeking information about the investigation. Translation: he wasn't just a clueless opportunist. He intentionally terrorized a grieving family to feed his own curiosity. He also admitted he had been following the case on television and found the family's contact information online. But here's what the guilty plea didn't do. It didn't solve the underlying mystery. Kalela wasn't connected to the real kidnappers. He was a parasite, not the predator. His conviction gives the Guthrie family one small measure of justice, but it doesn't tell them where Nancy is. His sentencing is set for September 10, 2026. A single Twitter user captured the public sentiment. A man who took advantage of a family at their lowest point gets 5 years probation. What about the person who actually took Nancy? The answer to that question remains a mystery. The TM's emailer. I have video of the main guy. June 2026, Harvey Levin's phone buzzes. TMZ founder Harvey Levin has covered countless celebrity scandals, but this one was different. Since the early days of Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, Levin had been receiving emails from a mysterious individual. By June 2026, the count had reached nearly a dozen messages. The sender claimed to have direct knowledge of Nancy's abduction. They claimed there were 2 kidnappers directly involved, and they claimed to possess something extraordinary. A short video of the main guy with Nancy on what was probably her last day. I have a phone stashed in a secure location, guaranteeing both the information it stores and the safety of the phone, the sender wrote, according to Levin. What it contains is my definition of delivering them on a silver platter. A short video of the main guy with Nancy the day that was probably her last, pictures of both involved, names and addresses and age. The sender claimed to know the kidnappers personally. They feared that coming forward would result in retaliation, hence the demand for money instead of a straight tip to police. The sender initially demanded up to $100,000 for the information. By late June, they had reduced their request to a single Bitcoin, worth about $60,000 at the time. But here's the twist. The sender refused to hand over the evidence. Levin publicly challenged the individual. If you've got something, send it. The sender responded within hours, but they wouldn't comply. I'm not gonna do it, because the metadata is gonna lead authorities to me. Retired FBI supervisory agent Jim Clemente was scathing. Either the author of those emails is a complete fool or it's completely fake. Why would you offer up exactly what the Guthrie family has been looking for, and offered a $1 million reward for an exchange for 1 Bitcoin? When if you actually give them the information that they need and that you say you have, you can get $1 million instead? Levin insisted he had authenticated the emails. They referenced the same Bitcoin address and used the same alias as earlier messages. He was convinced the person knew something. I'm not suggesting that the FBI is doing anything wrong, Levin later said, but it's just curious to me that this one guy, it's just somebody that I felt knew something. But for whatever reason, this has all kind of evaporated into thin air. The FBI, for its part, hasn't publicly confirmed or denied the legitimacy of the TMZ emails. And the sender remains a mystery. The fake note industry. The flood of fraudsters exploiting a tragedy. February-June 2026, everyone wants a piece. The Nancy Guthrie case attracted something beyond the usual true crime attention. It attracted scammers. And there were a lot of them. The FBI received so many fake ransom notes that by July 2026, they stopped counting publicly. The official statement only said, several had been received. Each one represented someone trying to profit from a family's suffering. Here's what we know about the original notes that started it all. The first note, February 2, 2026, sent to KOLD, a CBS affiliate in Tucson, demanded millions in Bitcoin, set deadlines for payment. The FBI actually deposited a small sum into the Bitcoin account as a test to see if anyone would claim it, but the money sat untouched. This was unusual. If someone was actually holding Nancy, why wouldn't they check the account? The second note, February 6, 2026, sent to multiple media outlets, claimed Nancy Guthrie had died, said she was buried with nature, suggested she had gone to be with God. No demand for money in this note, just an apology. Or was it a legal shield? The third note, June 2026, sent to TMZ, the one with the alleged video and kidnapper details. The FBI determined that the first two notes likely came from the same sender, but they haven't confirmed who that sender was. The Reuters source initially claimed all three were fake, but the FBI's subsequent statement complicated that picture. Some of these notes contain details that weren't public. Nancy's Apple Watch, a broken light on her home. Did the kidnapper write them? Or did an obsessed follower of the case somehow know these details? Retired FBI agent Jason Pack told NewsNation that investigators cannot definitively dismiss any ransom communication until they know who sent it and what happened to Nancy. You don't know what happened to Miss Nancy, Pack said. Law enforcement is still looking for Miss Nancy. Until they have answers to that question, I don't see how you can definitively say a note is or is not legitimate until you know exactly what happened. Meanwhile, law enforcement has been trying to track the authors of these notes by following the chain of proxy servers they use to protect their identities. It's a slow, painstaking process, and 5 months in, it hasn't led to an arrest. The divided investigators. FBI sources are split, and so is the public. July 2026, no consensus, no answers. Behind the scenes, investigators are divided on a fundamental question: is any of this real? Some investigators believe the ransom demands are all bogus. Others are cautious about reaching that conclusion, while Nancy Guthrie's whereabouts remain completely unknown. Fox News reported that sources close to the investigation are split, and the public information coming from the FBI has only deepened the confusion. On one hand, the anonymous FBI source who told Reuters none of the ransom notes are believed to be genuine. On the other hand, the official FBI statement that some notes may potentially be legitimate. These positions seem irreconcilable. How can the same agency say both things? One possible answer emerged from the New York Post. The Reuters story was based on an unfinished internal document. The FBI's official statement was a correction. Law enforcement sources suggested that 2 or 3 notes had enough detail specifics about Nancy's clothing and home to still be considered potentially legitimate. The Pima County Sheriff's Department, which remains the lead investigative agency, has been cautious. Every tip and lead is taken seriously and is forwarded directly to our detectives, who continue to work in coordination with the FBI, the department said. Any questions about ransom notes should be directed to the FBI. That last statement was telling. The Sheriff's Department was distancing itself from the ransom note controversy entirely. FBI Director Kash Patel also declined to comment on the matter during a press conference. I'm not going to comment on that. We are continuing to assist that investigation. We've always been in an assist role. It's a state matter being led by the state authorities, Patel told reporters. The public is left with contradictions. Attorney Todd Spodek, who specializes in cybercrime, told the New York Post that the situation might be simpler than it appears. An actual, sophisticated operation wouldn't have gotten involved in a kidnapping conspiracy turned homicide. That alone says it's rookie ST. But the rookie theory doesn't explain the details. The broken light, the Apple Watch, the specific knowledge of Nancy's home. 5 months later, the only certainty is uncertainty. The unanswered questions. What happens next in the Nancy Guthrie mystery? July 2026, the investigation continues. As the 5-month mark approaches, here's where the Nancy Guthrie case stands. What we know. Nancy Guthrie disappeared from her Arizona home on January 31, February 1, 2026. Blood found on her porch was confirmed to be hers. A masked man was captured on her Nest doorbell camera that night. Multiple ransom notes have been received, some fake, some possibly real. Disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit a tip online at tips.fbi.gov. The Guthrie family is offering a $1 million reward for information leading to her safe return. The case remains a kidnapping for ransom investigation officially. What we don't know: where is Nancy Guthrie? Who was the porch guy? Are any of the ransom notes legitimate? Who is the TMZ emailer? And do they actually have video evidence? Were there accomplices? Is Nancy alive or dead? Savannah Guthrie returned to the Today Show weeks after her mother's disappearance, wearing yellow as a symbol of hope. She and her family have continued to offer a $1 million reward for information. The volunteer search group recently scoured an area near the Arizona-Mexico border. A false alarm tipped them to Mexico, and they came up empty. What the experts are saying: they think Nancy is dead. Former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer believes Nancy died early on, and the suspects disposed of her body. They think she's alive. Private investigator Dan Ribicoff believes the kidnappers went into hiding because of the massive media attention. They think the notes are key. The FBI is still analyzing the potentially legitimate notes, and if any of them are real, that's the thread that could unravel the whole case. The FBI's Bitcoin test account, the small deposit they made into the first ransom note's wallet, remains untouched. That might mean the author never intended to negotiate, or it might mean they were waiting for a larger payment, or it might mean they knew the FBI was watching. The next steps. Kal-Ela's sentencing is set for September 10, 2026. The FBI continues to analyze DNA, video, and ransom notes. The Pima County Sheriff's Department says forensic analysis remains underway. As of July 2026, no one has been arrested in connection with the actual abduction of Nancy Guthrie. No suspects have been publicly named. The porch guy remains unidentified. What this means for viewers: this case has become a cautionary tale about the chaos that follows high-profile tragedies. The genuine search for Nancy Guthrie has been buried under ransom notes that might be real, ransom notes that are definitely fake, a convicted grifter who exploited a family's grief, a mystery emailer who promises video but won't deliver, two law enforcement agencies feuding over evidence, a public that doesn't know what to believe. The FBI's July 1st statement was careful to maintain the possibility that the case is genuine. This case continues to be investigated as a kidnapping for ransom case. That single sentence is the only certainty the public can hold on to. And Nancy Guthrie remains missing. DoubleU hats coming next. 3 developments are poised to reignite interest in this case. 1. September 10, 2026. Derek Kal-Ela's sentencing. Will he reveal anything new? Will prosecutors use him to pressure other suspects? 2. The TMZ emailer. Harvey Levin is convinced this person knows something. Will they ever produce the video? Will the FBI identify them? 3. FBI analysis. The Bureau is still examining some ransom notes as potentially legitimate. Any breakthrough there could crack the case wide open. This story isn't over. If you have information about the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI or submit a tip online at tips.fbi.gov. The Guthrie family is offering a $1 million reward for information leading to her safe return.